Okay, with the question.
Ready?
Yeah, put your mic on. There is flash, but it stayed on.
You have to hold it.
Yeah. But it did, but it looked like it's going back to send that green, especially buried down. But there's not a whole lot of feature here. Not as much as what we had. Richard Anderson.
Do what, when we get to the budget, right before we do that, Mark has to make a motion where we have a workshop today with a motion where the money was moved. He has to make a motion first. So right before you do the budget ordinance, just Mark's gonna say he has to make a motion, move money from, previously budgeted.
So we're gonna do that before we talk about it.
Yeah. Yes, that's good. It's not very great.
All right, folks, welcome to the meeting. Gavel in, call to order. All right. Lance Hamby, he'll have a prayer for us.
Does anyone have any prayer requests that we can be lifting up specifically?
I'd like to pray for our town and our country.
Yeah.
And for Israel.
Yeah.
Israel.
I always think about the shut.
Let me invite you to stand if you want to stand. Let's bow our heads and open with a word of prayer. God, we thank you for this time and this space and this place to gather together. Lord, right now we consecrate what we are about to do and what we are about to say unto you. Lord, we offer ourselves up to you. We thank you for this town and this place and the people that are here. We pray for our elected officials and for the decisions that are to be made. We ask that you would give them guidance, that you would give them wisdom, Lord, give them discernment. God, we thank you for all of the people in this community, the families, the individuals that are represented, for the schools, for the churches. God, we think even beyond ourselves and our country right now, and we pray for Israel in specific. God, we ask for protection for the people over there and ask that you would be with them. God, we pray for those two that are in our midst and close to us that are not able to get out much. We pray for the shut-ins. We ask that you would be with them. We ask that you would bring people alongside them to bring community into their lives. God, we thank you for who you are and the ways in which you are moving and working in the world and in our community around us. God, and we thank you for the chance to participate in it. We lift ourselves up to you and we pray all of this in the mighty and the powerful and the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Charles, I please pray.
Jason, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seth, would you like to call the roll?
Yes, sir. Alderman Day.
Here.
Alderman Lemon.
Here.
Alderman Phillips. Here. Vice Mayor Radford.
Here.
Mayor McIntyre.
Here. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve May's 19th regular BMA meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips. Yes. Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, I ask for a motion to approve June 11th BMA workshop minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips. Yes. Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, opportunity for citizens comment on previous request. We've got Greg Bennett. Step up to the podium, Greg.
My question is mainly for law enforcement. Why can't we do anything about the traffic on Highway 107 by the dump? I know you have an officer that sits down there for about 10, 15 minutes every day, about between 9 and 11 o'clock. That's it. There's cars racing up and down that road all day long doing over 50 miles an hour, and nothing is ever done. I see whoever sits up there turn his lights on once in a while and let that car just go on by. It's not a good old boy thing anymore. It should be enforced.
Sir, I understand.
My second thing is, where I live right off of Josh Hopkins Road, right there in the corner. Every night, there's a drug deal going on down that road. Nobody goes down there. How do I know this? Because I have cameras. And I see them go in there, they're not 10 minutes in there, and they're out of there. Why can't something be done? I came from a small town, and that was the reason why I left that small town, because the drugs were taken over. Give me answers.
Okay, I'm gonna answer your question as far as
You
traffic.
gotta speak up so I can hear you.
As far as traffic goes on 107, we have two officers, Caleb Gilson and Aaron Engler, and they write tickets there all the time.
No, they're not.
I promise you they are. I can-
You show me. You show me how many tickets you write up there.
Kevin, he needs to calm down.
calm down a little bit.
You need to calm down.
They write tickets there all the time.
How many tickets do you write up there a week? Give me an idea.
I'm not sure how many they write a week. Last month, they wrote 40 throughout the whole town,
40 around our town.
around the town.
That's it. I can't hear, so I gotta talk loud.
But we also have the county that's out here answering calls as well.
They don't do anything.
I don't answer for the county. I'm just.
I know that. I'm not asking you to answer for the county. I'm asking you to answer for why we cannot get more tickets written up there. 1 hour a day, between different times of the day, instead of always being the same time.
We
Why?
have officers that work different shifts. I work the afternoon shift. I come in at 3:30 and work till 8 o'clock. We have other.
That ain't happening. I see it I sit on my porch every day.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. We have other calls to answer. If there's one officer working, we can't sit somewhere for hours trying to write tickets. We do enforce traffic laws, and we do write tickets. But we have the whole town to enforce it,
I
along with
understand.
other calls that we have to answer. It's not just, we can't sit there the whole time like troopers do on the interstate. We're not troopers. We have other calls for domestic.
How about other times of the day instead of, like I said, I see it, I sit on my porch, I don't have nothing better to do. I'm retired. So I don't have a whole lot I have to do. I'm around my front yard every day.
I'm going to take your feedback to the chief of police and let him kind of, we'll try to make a different schedule as far as setting up on 107 to try to disperse the different times through the day. So it's good constructive feedback, and we'll definitely take it to heart.
Well, Greg, I tell you, you laid your point.
I have.
And I'm glad you came and spoke to us. I mean, that's what everybody needs to do. You spoke your mind, and I'm sure Chris, he'll take that into consideration. I mean, and if you don't tell us, we don't know.
I understand that.
And then as far as the drug dealer, yes, we need to do something about that too. We need to take this town back.
Absolutely.
So,
We need times as well when that's going on down there. I mean, we can't be everywhere.
I fully understand that you're a limited source,
We are.
but that limited source can change its mind and not be in the same spots all the time, because that's what's happening to me. That's what I see. I don't see somebody down there at 2:30 in the afternoon. I don't see somebody there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when all the traffic is going 100 miles an hour. I walk across the street to the dump all the time. And I have to really watch because they come around the corner from town and they're doing 45, 50 miles an hour. I have a hard time just getting across the road.
Greg, I tell you, we're gonna have to move on.
Okay?
But I think
You're welcome.
it's valuable that you come and tell us what's on your mind.
I'll be back to see if anything happens.
Yeah, come back anytime.
Thank you.
And keep us informed of what goes on. We appreciate that. All right, folks, let's see what else we got. Thank you. Okay, let's see. You got me shook up. Okay, let's see. I guess now we've got Renee Jones, our famous representative. And I tell her all the time, I said, I'm glad we got representation.
Well, I am very honored to be your voice in Nashville, so thank you for the opportunity to serve you. And I hope that we have kept great lines of communication open. I know Charles called me on a Sunday afternoon, he was like, I can't believe you answered the phone. I said, of course I did. So I definitely want to make sure we have those open lines of communication. If there's anything I can do, I'm very willing to listen and have much desire to make a difference and make a change where we need to change things. But I did want to come today and talk to you a little bit about the legislative wins that we had this past session, just to give y'all an update on what came out of Nashville this year. We have two constitutional amendments that we're going to try to get through that passed the first reading. The first one is prohibition of a statewide property tax. So that would prohibit any statewide property tax from ever being activated in the state of Tennessee, should that pass. It has passed its first reading. We will do it again next session. It has to pass, it passed by above 50% this time. It has to pass above 60% next time. Should it pass, then it will go on the ballot for you all to vote on. You'll be hearing that about, vote yes on one, should you, or no, if you would like to see us have a property tax at some point. So that'll be going on the ballot for your vote. The other thing that we passed is, it has to do with Savannah's law. It's an expansion of Savannah's law, which was a law that says, it tries to keep the folks that commit heinous crimes, off the street. And, the Savannah's law, just to give you a little bit of update, some background on that passed because Savannah, she was murdered and her family ran into the perpetrator on the street, leaving her funeral. So that was, that was something that we passed Savannah law that requires them to stay in jail a little bit longer than that, I think it was, for heinous crimes. But this bill, what it does is it judges the discretion to deny bail. So if they have created heinous crimes, the judge doesn't have to deny bail, but they have the discretion to deny bail and not let those folks back out on the street 24 hours later. So that will also is a constitutional amendment and will be on the ballot. Should it pass next session, will also be on the ballot. So I'm going to talk to you about 5 buckets that we kind of group things in after the legislative session. The first one is health. We passed $1.5 billion in new dollars for health and social services, nursing home providers, behavioral health, and dental care. I know a lot of folks in our area, especially with teen care, they have a really hard time getting availability for dentists in this area. So we were hearing things about people having to drive to Knoxville or Chattanooga just to get dental care for their children. So this we hope will bring some incentive pay to dentists here in East Tennessee to where they'll begin to see these patients. We removed the barriers for terminally ill patients, removed barriers for cancer patients to access recommended medications. So, the step process, you go through this step and then this step and this step. Step 3 is what will really help you, but it takes a long time to get to that step. So we've removed those steps that if there is a drug out there that will help you in your diagnosis, you don't have to go through all those steps. If your doctor says this is the drug you need, you don't have to try A, B, and C before you get to B. So that one is one that I actually co-sponsored that and was real excited to see that pass. We expanded prenatal screenings to protect mothers and babies, protected Tennessee's DNA and organs from foreign adversaries, and protected religious freedoms for healthcare workers. That came about when folks were not able to decide whether they wanted to take the vaccination during COVID or not. So this prevents those freedoms to be recognized, or not prevents, allows those freedoms to be recognized. And in law and order, we again expanded Savannah's law. Marcy's law was to protect rights of victims. The Peace Act was to combat hate crimes and improve public safety. Tougher penalties on THC distribution, which I know is important here. We have a lot of THC in this area, and we also prohibited THCA, which is the legalizing, basically, of marijuana. It's supposed to be able to burn the flowers of that, and they would have marijuana. So that has been prohibited. Creating human smuggling offenses, enhanced penalties of vehicular homicide, and we expanded the Good Samaritan law to include alcohol overdose. Criminalized generated artificial intelligence involving minors. So this goes back to where folks will take a kid and change their, profile pics or whatever they can do. I'm not very smart to do all that, but it goes on. It goes on, and so this would criminalize that if you're found to be using artificial intelligence to victimize a child, then this HB 769 will criminalize those charges. And we strengthened several penalties related to child abuse. In education and school safety, of course, the major thing that happened was the Education Freedom for Families, which is otherwise known as the voucher bill. I oppose that bill because we have no private schools in any county that I represent Carter and Nicollet County, and we do not have private schools in our area, so I didn't want to see that money coming away from our public schools and going to private schools, so I did vote against that bill, but it did pass. And my understanding is that we had 20,000 scholarships available, and I know that there was over 30,000 applications. So somewhere it is a need, it's just not, we've got great public schools, it's just not a need here right now. We banned wireless communication devices during instructional time. Students can still have their phones in schools, but they can't have them out during instructional time. We gave the option for districts to implement merit-based pay for their teachers, and we gave free speech protections to students, more recess for children. I think it increased our outside play for kids in K through 5 from 20 minutes to 40 minutes. So they'll have more outside time. Federal Education Deregulation Task Force was formed, and that's coming down from the federal, where President Trump is dismantling the state level to be prepared for what's happening in the future. And then with children and families, we increased access to child care. We know that our families have to have reliable child care to be able to work, and so we increased access to that. We also did some protected children in custody cases, HB 1235, expanded all those protections, established a pro-life protection for pregnant mothers, and banned red boarding in schools. Red boarding is a food dye that is associated with autism and other autism and some other mental illnesses that they attributed that to. But anyhow, we did ban red boarding, but we didn't ban anything else. But there is a push to ban some of the other food dyes. We'll see how that goes. But there is a push for that in school nutrition. We also did some dismantling of DEI. We prohibited local governments and public universities from making hiring decisions based on race, religion, sex, national origin, age, or disability. In other words, it's going to be based on merit. We feel like that at the state level, we felt like that those decisions need to be based on merit and not necessarily all of the other things that it's been based on in the past. Ended race-based selection for membership of state boards and prohibited state and local governments and public universities from having DEI departments. That's it. That's a lot. We did. We did a lot of stuff this year, and it was an honor to be there, and I enjoyed it. I passed several bills. One that I passed that was very important to this area was I passed a budget amendment that brought $20 million back to urban utilities for the wastewater plant. And the urban utilities is not a department of the local government, so they were not eligible for the match that the governor passed, the 20% match. They were not eligible for that. They were not eligible for any of the assistance that we did during the special session for flood. So what that would mean to us is that 25% that urban utilities would have to come up with to make their FEMA match would be on the back of 3,000 customers of urban utilities. So by giving them the $20 million, we would alleviate some of that expense that would come back to us as customers. So I really was grateful to our General Assembly and my colleagues there that recognized that we as a county of 16,000 people and as a utility district of 3,000 customers could not afford that. And my comment was, if you want to be, if this General Assembly, the 114th General Assembly, wants to be the first General Assembly to have a bankrupt county, then don't pass my budget. So nobody wanted to do that. So we were able to get that through. But I would open it up to any questions. If anybody has anything of me, I would be glad to answer from the audience or the alderman or whatever the legal the proper procedure is.
And on that surveillance law,
Yes.
did you say that had passed or y'all?
Yeah. Savannah's law, we did do some, the Savannah's law that did pass was HB 1200, and that was to establish a new domestic violence registry. But the constitutional amendment is in a process. So it passed the first reading, which gives the judge discrepancy to deny bail, and it passed the first reading, but the second reading will be this next session, and then it'll be on the ballot. So in 2020, if it passes, in 2026, it'll be on the ballot. You're welcome.
Renee, is there any money out there to help us repair like Unicorn Drive and State Route 107, where all the dump trucks from the flood, they damaged these roads?
So we did put in an extra, I think it was $8 million, I think we did put some extra money into the transportation fund this year to deal with, the interstates. Those are state routes. So anything that's a state route.
Yeah.
So the roads you're talking about, if they're a state route, there is money to come back once we've recovered, once they're not gonna start on it now. It's gonna be once the dump trucks quit running, then there is money in their budget. We'll put more in it this next session to help with that on the state routes. Now, the county routes and what's owned by the cities is a different scenario. We probably will need to look at that, how we're gonna get money funneled down to the county and the cities. But I will say, I want to apologize, everything we passed in the flood relief, we said local governments. Wording's everything. We said local governments. The last budget amendment that we got into the governor's budget gave $25 million in free money, grant money, that doesn't have to be paid back. It just said counties. And we neglected, we did it quickly at the end of session, and we neglected to put local government. So that the cities and the towns are not eligible for that money. All I could ask for is forgiveness, because this was my first term, and I wasn't thinking about all those things. I just wanted to get us some free money. We got $3.725 million for the county. But I guess I made an assumption that everybody would share, and I guess that's not the way it works. So we will move them forward. We've got a bunch of block grants that's going to be coming down, and moving forward, we will make sure we get the word right. But I apologize for that. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you again. You can reach me anytime, and I'll be happy to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're gonna call on Jason and Amanda McKinney, and that's on speeding.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna be that long. My name is Jason McKinney, me and my family lived in Newport County all our lives. We've lived out here on Madison for about the past 8 years. And we thoroughly enjoyed this quiet. The only thing that we have that we can complain about is the some of the traffic. We noticed the last year it started to speed up. Our two little ones here, they like to be out and everything. They're not the only ones out. We have others, there's other kids on the road that's out, there's people walking, riding their bikes. You can't do that because people are speeding. Our road starts at Marlton and ends at Western Pines. There's a good stretch downhill slope coming if you go in that direction, and they start flying down it, and they fly up it too. But there's no speed limit signs, none. We was hoping to at least get at the, get a couple of signs. We could even go 20 miles an hour would be great. Just something to slow people down, let them know. Some of it is the neighborhood, the people lives in the neighborhood, some of it is shouldn't really matter. But that is, it's a growing concern because they're getting faster and faster. And there's gonna be problems because people want to be jerks, they wanna get offended if you holler at them. I've already been through that, we've already been through that. But you can only take so much. If kids are out there, don't be flying. But they still wanna do that, I'm gonna holler at them. Anybody with kids is gonna do that. But we just, our biggest thing is just, if they can put up some signs, some speed limit signs, I mean, that'll make them aware, anybody from both directions, that'll make them aware. And I don't think that that's too unreasonable of, requests.
Thank you. And we can put, maybe put some children playing signs.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. We bought them ourselves. We put them out ourselves. We have a couple of them up from us. Well, actually, one is at one corner of our yard, a woman that lives down next to us. The far corner, is another one. The bright green fluorescent bin with the bright orange flag. That's what they had. You would think that would tell them to slow down, but it does not do anything. So it's just one of those. And whenever I got looking, there is no speed limit signs through there. I don't even know what the speed limit is through there, but I'm sure that anything over 20 is going to be ridiculous going into that neighborhood. It's just one of those things. But if it could, I'm thinking that would be a good start to correct the problem.
Well, I appreciate you showing up and making us aware of this. And if nothing happens pretty readily, come back again. Keep calling us. Don't let us forget. I tell people all the time, I say, don't let me forget. You know what I mean? Because I have been known to do that. So thank you for being here. We appreciate that. Opportunity for citizens to speak. Anybody want to say anything?
Was Katie?
Hey, I'm down visiting my sister-in-law, and moved out from where I am looking to move down here, and down at Rock Creek Road. And I got personal experience dump trucks today talking about the roads, getting that rebuilt, and that be excellent. The other thing I was going to ask at this point is speeding. In my hometown, Rhode Island, we have these signs, and they have digital readout, tells you speed. It flashes white flashing, and when you're going with the speed limit, it's blue. They actually work, because I've seen it. I was walking by, and one of the signs, and someone's coming down the road, and they see them slow down real quick. They see that sign, and they think there might be another police officer or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was invited tonight by my brother, sister-in-law. It seems like a very nice town. A little concerned with what we're doing. So it's a nice little, those signs, I really think they work. Because it catches me sometimes, and I look down, wow, I can't go into those speed limits. So for sign purposes, stuff like that. I got 2 daughters too.
So that's something we can look into.
Yeah, and something I just want to address is all town roads, if they're not posted, are 35, and that seems excessive for your road too. I've been on Medstone myself. We have a device that we can hook to a power pole and it'll tell the time of day that people are going through there the fastest, what the highest speed is, what the average speed is, and all that. I'll talk to our police chief tomorrow about putting that up there to kind of get a gauge when they can sit and do some patrol. But the 35, I was just talking to the attorney here about that. We'll have to do some traffic studies as far as lowering the speed limit. That's what's required by our charter. So we'll definitely do that. You know, I don't know if you'll see results from that in 2 months or 6 months, how long that kind of a study takes. But there's more than just one road that really applies to here. So I just want you to know, if you don't see something in a month or two, it's not because we forgot, but it's because it's a comprehensive study that we just can't do ourselves. It requires state engineers. So just
Okay, let's move on. We got ordinance 338. This is second reading on Jim Woodward property. And it's rezoned from low density to agricultural. And has anybody got anything to say? All right, ask for a motion.
Motion approved. Second.
Alderman Day,
Yes.
Alderman Lemon,
Yes.
Alderman Phillips,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford,
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, we move on to ordinance 339, and that's on our budget. And I think we have to have a motion, don't we, for?
So I would like to make a motion to move money from the flock cameras, software, and the road funds to the EMS.
Second.
Alderman Day,
Yes.
Alderman Lemon,
Yes.
Alderman Phillips,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford,
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay. Okay, we ask for a motion.
Motion to approve. We got a public hearing.
Yeah, on that real ordinance now. We're on the ordinance 2025-339 now.
Okay, now do we ask for people to speak on this?
Yeah, on the budget, yeah.
Okay. All right, has anybody got anything to say about the budget? We good? Ask for motion to approve?
I've got to do the reading first.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry for being
got you.
I'm going to be Charlie Brown's teacher for just a minute. So I'm going to read off our appropriations and total revenue projection for the 25-26 fiscal year budget. Total cash receipt revenue, we're projecting $2,069,656. Of that, the appropriations for the balanced budget to the legislative appropriation, $55,601. City attorney, $45,000. Judicial, $2,999. Central staff, $249,682. Town hall, $18,833. Tourist information center, $33,184. Transfer to other funds, this is the kitchen, $64,673. Other government, $69,312. ARPA, $32,000. The police department, $288,936. Public safety, $111,130. EMS annex, $18,059. Public works, $765,576. Public welfare and donations, $17,700. Debt servicing, $156,366. Gateway enhancement, $5,839. Tourist TOU/Schneider Properties, the Trailhead, $3,213. Economic development, $30,873. Parks and Recreation, $96,520. The Bowman Cabin, $4,160. That gives our total appropriations, makes it equal to our total revenue projections of $2,069,656.
Thank you, Sam. Now we do a motion.
Motion to approve the budget.
Motion to approve the budget.
Second.
Now, bear with me just a second, I get back there. Is that fast enough? Who made the motion, sorry?
I didn't trust it yet.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. And I'd just like to say we worked really hard on the budget. Not everybody's happy, but we spent several days on this and we've done the best we could. So, okay. All right, so now we've got unfinished business? None? Other business? Okay. Bowman and Son Construction on Horton Road. Ask for a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, now we got to approve motion for Limestone Cove Fire Department. We passed the ordinance to where fire departments, non-charitable, they can have one roadblock a year. And it don't cost anything, they just have to apply for it. And Limestone Cove, they won't have a roadblock while we have a Freedom Fest to raise money. So that's what we're voting on. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. So we got a resolution of 149,403 additional funds on Massachusetts. Do we need to say anything about that, Sam?
No, we're not sure if we'll have to use them exactly, but they have found some things that could run into some more potential costs on Massachusetts Avenue on the road repair down there. So our grantor is requiring that we commit additional funds if needed.
Okay, if anybody needs to know anything about that, we'll have more details by noon tomorrow. They've run into problems on that, and like I told them, everything looks good on paper. But when you dig, it's different. So, okay. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay, now we have economic development, Austin Finch.
Over the last few months, we've had conversations around how we demonstrate the value of economic development provided to the town. And I come and I give updates and, give little pieces of information. It's not always clear what it's building to. And I figure a better way to demonstrate what we're doing is by bringing in the partners that help us accomplish what we're trying to get to do. So in this case, we're building, the concept of a trails master plan for a while. A year ago, I was saying we need to identify a partner, we identify the trails. Another 9 months ago, we were saying, hey, we found them, they're doing preliminary work. And then here we are now, we have this plan together, and it shows the trails that we can improve, shows ways that we could create an ecosystem that brings in more visitors, increases tourism dollars, increases sales tax revenue, and improves generally, say, the economy in the county. What this plan represents for the town of Iroquois is positioning it as a gateway community to the outdoors, which is what we already know that we are, but how do we claim that in a way that gets more people here to spend money? So now I'm going to introduce our partner, Tim Johnson, with Destination by Design, to present the Trails Master Plan and specifically how that can benefit the town.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for your time tonight, board. My name is Tim Johnson. I'm the Director of Outdoor Recreation Planning for Destination by Design, which is a planning, engineering, and communications firm based out of Boone, North Carolina, just over the mountain here. We help rural communities plan, build, and promote destination quality parks, trails, greenways, recreation areas, and vibrant main streets. And as Austin mentioned, I guess this was last fall or last summer, his organization asked us to do a recreational trail assessment for the entire county. What you have in your hand is just a summary report, which is much shorter than the presentation that we gave to this board. But hopefully this gives you some idea of what we're trying to accomplish through this assessment. The main thing I want to mention is that the reason for the assessment was to basically look at the entire county and create different recreation hubs within the county that would provide a number of different trail experiences for different people. Okay, so you have an area that's got really difficult trails. You probably don't want to send your parents to that trail hub, right? That's for a younger family or a younger demographic. So we really were looking at different recreational assets around the county and creating these hubs that address the various trail experiences. Unicoi County is in a great place for outdoor recreation. You've got 66,000 acres of the Cherokee National Forest here. You've already got outdoor recreation assets like the Unaka Mountain Road, Limestone Cove Day-Use Area, Rock Creek Recreation Area, Rocky Fork State Park, Appalachian Trail. But yet there's still a lot of areas within the forest that are completely undeveloped. There's nothing there from a recreational standpoint. But you also have a pretty comprehensive network of forest roads within these national forests as well that are gated and not necessarily used. So when we looked at Unicoi County and looked at all the assets that are here, we obviously took a look at Unicoi and Erwin as two towns that could serve as gateway communities to the Cherokee National Forest and everything else that you have here. Again, as you know, the forest is right here, both sides of you. And there's so many different local and regional level assets, like the fire tower right here on Pinnacle Mountain, like the Appalachian Trail, like the linear trail, that hopefully eventually will connect you all in Erwin together. The biggest advantage y'all have is that you're so easily accessible off of I-26. Okay, so real easy to be going down I-26. You're within 20 miles of Johnson City and probably around 50 miles of Asheville. So we really see your location as being very, very helpful as far as that goes to get people here. I'm going to skip over a few pages in the summary report and talk a little bit about Old Fort, North Carolina, which is another town that's surrounded by national forests. And they've had success there by developing trail systems and bringing people in, new restaurants, new businesses, bike rental businesses, that kind of thing. So that's just a quick case study on that. The next 2 pages talk a little bit about what economic impact outdoor recreation can have here in the county. I'm not going to go into detail, but basically, based on a really conservative estimate, we're looking at economic impact here in the county of anywhere from $370,000 to more than $4 million, depending on how many people you can bring in. So that just gives you an idea of what that economic impact would look like. As you continue on through the report, you're going to notice there's a map there. And on that map, we've identified 10 outdoor recreation hubs. And like I said, each of these hubs has a different focus. And I don't think it's any surprise to y'all that Unicoi, the town, would be one of those hubs. And so you're seeing that on the map, as well as the Red Fork Hub, which is up 107, Limestone Cove Hub, which is also up 107. So anybody coming over here from North Carolina that's coming up over the mountain, they're going by both of those hubs before they get here. And then you can continue to look, and you'll notice their hubs spread countywide all the way to the southern end of the county. After that, we basically have a recommendations matrix. So what this matrix does is it lays out our findings and our recommendations to help establish and promote the outdoor recreation economy here in Unicoi County. So as you look through that recommendations matrix, you're going to notice that Unicoi is listed as a hiking hub. So we see the town as a place that hikers would come to enjoy various activities. The 2 project recommendations we have here for Unicoi specifically are at the Pinnacle Mountain Fire Tower Trail. Great little local park there. You got a gravel parking lot. We think it'd be great to have a kiosk. So when people go up there, they get off the highway, they see that parking kiosk, it attracts their attention. They immediately can see that there's this great 9-mile round trip hike to the Pinnacle, which right now isn't that obvious unless you walk up to the little shelter with the bathroom. And then when they turn around, they've got the great Unaka Mountain Range right there as well. So that's one recommendation that we made for this as a hiking hub. And then the other recommendation is to continue extending the urban linear trail this direction to hopefully connect Irwin and Unicoi, and eventually connect both of you to the Appalachian Trail down at Chistilla. So that would be the goal. You know, as you get off the highway here, coming to town, there's a little sign, AT Community. You're already got that sort of designation as an AT community, so let's do all we can to try to connect directly to the AT, and really play that up. So Austin asked me to be very brief, so that's all I'm gonna say, but you're welcome to continue to look through this report. You know, if you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. We just, you know, we work in a lot of rural communities all over Appalachia, and we just see community as being a great place to try to really double down on outdoor recreation economy. Any questions?
No, I think sometimes it takes somebody out of the area to really appreciate what we have. When Johnny's came, I mean, it was a little old white house up there on the corner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who would have thought it? And Johnny, he bought building materials from us when he first came here. And he was mow high. And I mean, he made a place there where people, that was the destination. I mean, that was their stop. When they hiked, they came to the river, whatever. And they've got a beautiful building going on out there now. So really, I don't know, you have mixed emotions about people coming in and this and that and another, but, you know, we do rely on sales tax. And we need to do something to get sales tax in here. And we have a beautiful, I never take it for granted. People say, yeah, you do. I said, no, I don't. You know what I mean? We've got a beautiful place. And it takes, a lot of times it takes somebody away from here to realize what we have. And that's the way I think about it. And, you know, they've talked about the river plan and that sort of thing. And, you know, this flood has been a real tragedy, but there's been a lot of miracles come out of this flood. I mean, people working together and, you know, and I think, you know, they say, well, they had a flood. They lost their property, but they didn't lose their will to live on and do better. So it's not really a question, but I appreciate you letting me say that to you, because that's the way I feel about it. Thank you. And you're welcome anytime.
Well, I've spent some time on the AT here in Unicoi County. I've spent some time at Limestone Cove on those trails as well. So again, you know, it's hard when I live in Western North Carolina, so I'm surrounded by this as well. I'm surrounded by a number of trails. And it's hard to want to venture elsewhere when you can stay close to home. But again, when you have areas like this here that I've never explored before, it's attractive to me, and it's going to be attractive to others too that are going from Asheville to Johnson City.
And like I said about Johnny's, you know, nobody here would have ever thought that. It was just a little white house on the corner. You know what I mean? And it turned into, you know, Johnny's. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Maybe after, we're putting this into action. I've been applying for grants to actually do kiosks that I just applied for that Tuesday. Basically, you know, the mayor was included in this more so with his position on the board, but, you know, everyone's primary focus is going to be on the river redevelopment, which makes sense considering. So I want to focus hiking development, trail development, and that sort of initiatives based over on this side of the county. And at some point, when it's convenient, I'd like to schedule a workshop. We can bring this section by the time and have a more thought-out conversation about how we can put this into action. County of Unicoi has already been making some of the best steps in the last decade to improve our position. I mean, this whole plaza up here is a great example of, you know, how we're positioning ourselves as a town. And we just want to build on that. So reach out to the mayor if you all are interested in getting that scheduled. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you. I want you to feel welcome here,
Always.
you know.
Yeah, I rode here. I rode.
Well, thank you. Okay, let's see, who we got next? Lisa?
everybody needs to go up there and check them out. You might want some of them to do it for you. We can go see it.
We got red, white, and blue, don't we? And green too. But that really looks good.
Our next thing coming up is the ice cream social, and the back to school thing. We combine it together. We do the homemade ice cream, and we have the store-bought ice cream too, but we do water games and, stuff like that for kids to enjoy when they have to go back to school. And I think it's a good thing to let them blow off some steam. And we've got the little bottles that soak in the water. Instead of having balloons, we got the little bottles, and they soak that water in the water. They had fun last year with them, and we got extras this year, so we got more bottles. We might even get the Oliver out there and let the kids stuff the bottles.
That's a good idea.
We'll see this week. We was wondering about the gutters, because when it rains, you get drowned, so we need to pack them there. Because, the other night, we kind of got dead coming down, so it started pouring.
Are they, gutters overflowing or what's going
There's
on?
no gutters.
No gutters there.
Yeah. We need some gutters. Be it metal or wood or whatever, we just need some gutters. Then we just wanted to put a flagpole out there, a kiosk that we've got out there. And Amber said she was looking to see some prospects on that. So she said sometimes Boy Scouts or Eagle Scouts, that's one of the projects they do, and she used to look into that. About getting some flagpoles.
And you'd mentioned that to me sometime back, I forgot about it.
Yeah, I just reminded you. But, and we're gonna have another, project called Problem Day. If you've got problems with your sewing, crocheting or quilting and stuff like that, we're gonna do another one of those days in, probably July, sometime in July. We'll let everybody know on our, website, on our Facebook page. Put it on our Facebook page. I think we'll be doing everything, cleanup day too. So, we'll be up there doing that. Everybody will come out and help a little bit, no matter what you do, if you got a stick, if you can pile up, be fine. You know, it's just keep the community together to, take care of something nice. I think that's about all I've got.
Well, I appreciate the work y'all do out there, and the raised bed, they really did.
Yeah.
Good job.
Wanda, you want to do the planning and zone?
Sure. Okay. The Town of Unicoi Planning Commission met on June 2nd, 2025. Under new business was discussion of master road plan updates. This will permit our First Tennessee Development Agency to map and update the location and names of all roads in Unicoi. The board voted unanimously to approve. That was the only one new business on our planning. And then we also met with the Unicoi Board of Zoning met also on June 2nd, 2025. Under new business was discussion, action, of variance from front setback for property located at tax map 005D, Group D, parcel 031.00 and .032.00 for Wim Barrett. Mr. Barrett asked for a front yard variance from 44 feet to 22 feet due to the back of property being steep, and stated that he was told by TDEC that he would need the variance to be able to put in a septic tank on the property. The board voted unanimously to approve due to being a hardship clause. That's all we have.
Let's see, Seth, you gonna do Amber?
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
Okay, this is on the kitchen.
So for the kitchen, she has space, which entailed 10 clients, and hourly booking revenue of $4,024. The Unicoi County Public Library is going to start hosting a class per quarter at the Mountain Harvest Kitchen as a public service. So not sure if that's just going to be for children or kind of the scoop on that. Amber's not here to give us more information, but that's what I have for her from the kitchen.
Okay, we've had several representatives over at the kitchen, and we're trying to get this thing turned around. Get some more interest built up, and anytime anybody wants to come and visit and tour the kitchen, they're welcome to. I mean, it's a great asset there, and we've had a lot of mixed emotions about the kitchen, but we're into it, and we'll try to make the best of it. Thank you. All right. Seth, you want to do the park and recreation?
Sure thing. So Amber has on here that the cruise in is every Friday from 5:30 to 7:30 with a rotating selection of food trucks. You guys have had some pretty good success out of that, right? Good turnout. The community yard sale, the last one scheduled on June 7th was rained out. The next one will be on September the 13th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And applications are available at the Tourist Information Center for that. The Strawberry Festival was a success. The numbers were not final on that just yet until the end of this month, before we'll know for sure how that went. Freedom Fest will be held on July the 4th from 5 p.m. till dark with a big fireworks show. The fireworks are going to be shot in the school field. The Ruritan will be the only food vendor at the event. The bands for the event are Rhythm Brewers and Donnie and the Dry Heavers. I could probably do better if they're down. There will be free glow sticks and bubbles available.
Okay.
Probably need it for the dry heavers.
Thank you. Okay, you covered all that, didn't you?
Got it.
Amber's on vacation. I said, you mean we get vacations? Okay, it's a good thing. Okay, let's see, I guess now we got police department.
We had 159 calls for service and 19 citations were issued. We were down a little bit from the last meeting because we had several officers that were in training and were not available to work shifts.
Okay. And then too, Chris, see, anybody's got anything to say about the roads and the speeding stuff, we appreciate that. You know, we appreciate you coming out and saying what's on your mind. And Chris, they'll take it into consideration. I mean, it's not falling on deaf ears. You know what I mean? They understand your frustrations and what you're going through. And they only have so much time, but they do patrol, you know what I mean? They keep busy, they stay busy.
It's not like we can set anywhere for hours at a time because we have calls coming in. But we
Yes,
have to
sir.
take care, so the county doesn't have to take care.
And maybe, you know, like Greg said, you maybe mix the times up a little bit, you know what I mean, catch people off guard. But, and then, you know, we've had complaints about Marble Road, you know, the speeding on it. So, you know, you can do what you can do.
Well, usually there's only one officer working, so it's hard for us to answer calls because a call may take 30 minutes or it may take 2 hours.
Yeah, and when,
Depending on the severity of it, and then we have to answer those calls, you know, it takes away from traffic. You know, somebody calls 911 and needs an officer, we have to be there. We can't just stop that from traffic.
exactly. And when you communicate with the county, maybe you can fill them in on, you know, the trouble areas. Okay, Seth, you want to do the court report?
Sure thing. For the month of May, there were 28 court cases totaled in $2,945.95 in net disbursement revenue from court cases for the month of May.
Thank you very much. Okay, recorder report.
Sure thing. As the mayor talked about the budget, they all worked extremely hard, so they really need to be commended on their job of making a good balanced budget in a tight financial year. So they all did really well with that. And they prioritized the roads. That's a good thing about having your own local representatives is you can reach out to them and kind of dictate to them how you want funds spent. You hear, like the police department saying they only have one officer on a particular shift. Well, that's based on what they're hearing from their constituents on where we want our money spent. So if you'd rather see more officers than more roads, that's, you know, up to you guys to make that known. But I think, and that's what I've heard too, is a lot of people have wanted to make sure that the roads were addressed, and that's what they did a really good job this year, putting almost $800,000 into the budget to make some good adjustments to the road. And that's not even including Massachusetts. That's a totally different project itself. So the Horton Road's coming up, and then there'll be a couple more that'll get started pretty quickly here too. You'll see some adjustments there. As far as other items on the recorder's report, Kevin's already talked about the Massachusetts Avenue update where there's some differences that were found in what the initial estimates were from the engineering crew. So there's going to be a change tomorrow in kind of the scope of the project about as far as what they're doing with the trench. White Cove Road was just recently ditched and completed. Jess Hobson's coming next. If any citizen's concerned about the ditches and on your roads, reach out to me or one of your aldermen and let me know. That way we can get a crew up there. You know, that's one of your double tax things. You know, the county, all of our revenue comes from sales tax, but your property taxes are going to the county, and then we also have to pay the county to do the job. Neither here nor there. But if your road is needing attention as far as the ditch or something's concerned, reach out to me or one of your aldermen. We'll get that on the schedule too. Unicoi Drive, I know Renee, the state representative, spoke earlier about, and Charles had asked her the question about Unicoi Drive. We did apply for the governor's disaster relief fund grant. Is there any update on when those funds are going to be allocated? Good. That's good. So yeah, we have applied for that for Unicoi Drive because the trucks are just absolutely destroying it. But that's all I've got for the recorder's report for today.
And we have now, we've got more bids. Used to, we only had like one person, you know what I'm saying? So now we've got more bids coming in on each project. And a little bit of competition there, and we're getting the word out, you know, that we're doing everything we can to work with the contractors. Okay, said you want to do financial?
Sure. For the month of May, town revenues were $192,725. Expenses were $91,259, which meant a net income for the month of May of $101,466. Year to date, that puts the town of a net income, and these are road funds, at $447,201. Mountain Harvest Kitchen for the month of May brought in $5,037 with expenses of $5,428. So the Mountain Harvest Kitchen lost $391 in the month of May, and a total year to date of $45,848 in lost money from Mountain Harvest Kitchen. That concludes the financial report.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Day.
Yes.
Alderman Lemon.
Yes.
Alderman Phillips. Yes. Vice Mayor Radford.
Yes.
Mayor McIntyre.
Yes. Okay. Is there any announcements? Anybody wants?
I forgot to mention, the governor passed a resolution stating that July will be the month of prayer and fasting. And there will be an event held at Unicoi County Courthouse on July the 7th at 10:30 a.m.
Okay.
to pray for the state.
Thank you very much, Renee, and we appreciate you being here. Is anybody else got anything you want to say? Austin, you want to say anything else to us? Okay. He's trying to hide back there. He can't hide. Yeah, I said, you're trying to hide back there. Hey, one thing about it, he can take a beating. Yeah.
Maybe one of these days I'll let you eat back.
Yeah, there you go. Be back. Anybody else got anything to say? Say it. Call on you again.
Yeah, I guess. I'm like Austin trying to hide over here. So it's July 4th. We talked about the Freedom Fest at 5 o'clock on July 4th. The next Planning Commission BZA meeting will be held on Monday, July the 7th at 5:30, same place, same time. The next BMA meeting will be held on Monday, July the 21st at 5:30, also right here.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Anyone opposed? Is everybody unanimous?
I'm having a good time myself.
And it's pouring rain now.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Does that go back to sales?
I didn't do the gas.
I know. I think they figured it out, don't you?
Everybody's wanting to go, wasn't it?
Durham. Let's go back to him.